Thank you very much, the Honorable Paris Alrari, Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs. I would try to be the shortest speaker, and the reason for that is that most of the things I would want to contribute have already been presented. But I have about 5 slides which were prepared, and I will quickly go through those slides. First one has to do with point made, and I think point accepted. Prison reform must not stand on its own. It must be linked to criminal justice reform. The Attorney General has already committed to consideration of criminal justice reform consultation, and surely that point is well made. I want to just endorse one of the recommendations made by Senior Counsel Israel Khan, and I want to put into the public space that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is 100% behind abolishing police prosecutors. It's not something we want, but it's the present system because the DPP's department cannot take on all the criminal prosecution at magistrates' courts level, and therefore, once that is fixed, there is no grounds, 100% support by the police service for the removal of police prosecutors. If I get a little assistance there, click my slide, I could just give you. One of the points made earlier by many of the speakers is that we have many reports. And for me, it was painful to spend some time in 2013 sitting on a cabinet-appointed task force to look at concerns of the prison service, and all these things are triggered by way of crisis. We spent a lot of time working, and a report was generated, which we call the Dev-Saran report. Ramesh Dev-Saran was the chairman of that special task force or committee. And Mr. Saran Richards, Mr. Khan, the inspector of prisons, were also on that committee. And what we have found over the years is that so many reports have been generated and they are not effectively implemented. And by way of my recommendation is about taking all those reports together and establish a consolidated list of relevant recommendations from all the reports and organize those recommendations into short-term, medium, and long-term, and implement the recommendations. Mr. Carton emphasized it. I just want to endorse it. We have to stop the talk shop. We spend too much time talking without action. And I'm happy that the Attorney General has taken that starting point to seek out action, and we look forward to, by way of some level of optimism, that there will be implementation at the end of the day. My next slide. I will just make some quick specific recommendations. Some have been already touched on. Establish a video link remand system, and I think the Attorney General alluded to it. While traditionally we spoke about the remand court in prison, that carries with it some additional challenges, even by way of the magistrates who would have to go into prison would experience what the prison officers experience actually being in prison, because living the life of a prison officer is really a challenging thing. And I learned from my visit to the prisons how challenging that remand prison is. It's not something which you would want to encourage. But I'm just saying, the video link remand system is an easy one, an easy fix, and it can be implemented. In Tobago, you have video link remand in Tobago already operationalized, and we can just expand from small Tobago to the whole of Trinidad and Tobago, and that's an easy one. It will, in fact, contribute in a significant way, saving millions of dollars, and that has to do with the transport system. And also linked to the transport system is the police service, having the officers escorting the prison van up and down the road to all parts of the country every single day, and sometimes in a reckless manner, plenty siren, and the police service is tarnished by way of its image, negative image, because people view it in an awful way. And it contributes to speeding up the process. The turnaround of the matters can in fact be settled off, matters for trial. We make the arrangements to move the prisoners to the courts, and they go to court for trial as against just mere remand or ride, and the challenges would go with that. It also helps us to address an issue which the prison commissioner has raised with me, the issue of contraband. Illegal items entering the prison when the prisoners are returning, and police officers are the ones returning the prisoners, and therefore it's a concern for me when prisoners return with contraband items being escorted. That will help me, that the police will not be contributing to the problem in the prison if we have such a facility treated with. So that's the first main recommendation I'm making. The second one, establish a model correctional facility for the rehabilitation of offenders. And surely we know you have persons who will never be rehabilitated, but you have many persons who can be rehabilitated. And if we set a model prison, we can effectively address many things, including the issue of recidivism. And I hear figures being quoted in excess of 56% recidivism rate in Trinidad and Tobago. Well, the Brazil experience, adopting that as a best practice for us. In Brazil, they have set up special prison, and I call it the Brazil model, for which you are, at this point in time, seeing less than 5% recidivism rate. Less than 5%. It's a standout approach, and this was first made known to me by Dr. Diane Williams. She was sitting there for a while, but she has left to go and teach a class up in the university. I didn't believe when she shared it with me. I wanted to do my own research and check it out, and you can just simply Google, and you would find information on it. And it's clearly something which we can effectively consider. A correctional facility designed in a way, built around restorative practices, supported with some level, in that particular instance, it's faith-based and spiritual-based, but it could be shaped with the Trinidad and Tobago tweak, so we can design it, but I'm saying we can learn from what exists out there to address the issue of recidivism and improve our system and make a difference in the lives of prison officers and prisoners. My next recommendation is, if I use, and my term is close down. My staff tell me don't use that term, say relocate the Port of Spain prison. But I like the word close down. Port of Spain prison, I think the Attorney General has made the case out for it. I don't have to make the case out for it. The Attorney General has made the case out for it. The overcrowding in Port of Spain prison, the time that it was built and for what purpose, and its present location. I have to assign officers on a daily basis to actually walk around the Port of Spain prison. I need my officers to do something else. So the location is poor. They experience on a regular basis people throwing items over the wall because there is no restriction. Frederick Street flows. Anybody can walk around the prison. There is no restriction. The time has come for a decision to be taken to close down the Port of Spain prison. And there are all the justification for the closing down. And it's well made. Actually, you made the best case for it. So this is my position. Relocate the Port of Spain prison as the term, close down as another form of saying it. To emphasize it, I would put it in this succinct way. Port of Spain prison is a disaster waiting to happen. And since I have the public forum as the head of the police service, I would, in fact, so state, so that somewhere along the line somebody would remember it was stated at this forum. Well, I lost one of my officers right in front of the Port of Spain prison, but separate and apart from that, there are issues which we need to note, and it's a matter which should be treated as a high matter of urgency. So I'm just putting that out there. Out there with the Attorney General, the person responsible for this forum. We need to treat people like people, and that is what the advertisement says. And the remand system doesn't allow us to treat people like people. Those persons in remand are really treated awful. So we have to revisit the physical infrastructure and the physical conditions for which prison remand provides for the prisoners and provides for the prison officers. The point was made by the Commissioner of Prisons. Prison officers are facing the same conditions that the prisoners are facing, and it's really painful for anyone. I know you said you visited the prisons, so therefore you would be fully aware of it. I visited too, and it really pained my heart to know the conditions that the prison officers have to undergo by way of their presence at the remand prison, but also the prisoners. So that's something we have to address. It will take some money to spend, but if we identify the amount of money being already spent, if we revisit the spending arrangement, we can in fact use the same amount of money and get the results that we want. And that's it for me. We can't stand and talk about this prison reform without thinking down the road about the criminal justice reform. The delay in the criminal justice system is causing us the pain that we are facing with the remand system. And if we don't address the criminal justice system, really, we're spinning top in mud. Yeah? Thanks.
Another live and direct contribution. I wish to publicly thank the Commissioner of Prisons for his involvement. I'd like to just recognize police. We're talking about prisons. Forgive the Freudian slip. I'd like to recognize in the audience my colleague who has a position in the Ministry of National Security, Mrs. Glenda Jennings-Smith. She was a little bit late arriving today because I was supposed to be in Parliament right alongside her in the committee that sat this afternoon, the Finance Committee. But as you all know, this was a fixture which I would not miss. So I am acknowledging her presence this afternoon, and I thank her for being with us. As I see the chairman himself sitting just next to her, Mr. Sinanan, welcome this afternoon. Thank you very much, sir. He sat very patiently and politely, as he always does. Our last speaker is someone who has a vast experience in a number of areas. He's a criminal practitioner. He sat as a judge of the High Court. He has sat elsewhere, up in the Eastern Caribbean. He is currently serving as a member of the Integrity Commission. He has long pants in constitutional law and in the criminal justice arena, and he's someone who I have utmost regard for. I welcome to the podium none other than Mr. Rajiv Prasad to make his contribution, representing the Criminal Bar Association.